Why is it so hard for us to follow good advice? I mean, we know it's important for us to ensure that we're eating healthy meals, but why is it hard for us to do this? We also know it's important for us to exercise 30 minutes a day, but why is it hard for us to find the time to prioritize it? And when it comes to financial advice or financial planning, we know the importance of saving at least 10% of our income or just saving towards our retirement. But why is it hard to follow good advice? I'm Devan Naika, and I specialize in helping government employees and individuals who are about to retire live the best life possible with the money they have. And in this video, I'm sharing something very personal with you. It's things that prevented me from moving forward. It's special coaching tips that I've received. In fact, I'm guiding you on 3 questions that have a profound impact in my life. Now, before I walk you through the questions, I want to talk you through your financial planning and what could possibly be holding you back and why this is so important for you to move forward. Now, let's head over to the iPad so we can start to analyze this in greater detail. Now, when it comes to financial planning, maybe you're holding back on making an important decision. Maybe you know that you need the money that you have invested right now is not in the right strategy. Or maybe you know that you're paying too much for policies and you're getting some good advice, but somehow it's preventing you from being able to move forward. So let's first start to analyze what's holding us back, what's causing that sort of anxiety. Now, the real thing here is even though we know prevention is better than cure, even though we know this, we tend to act only when we feel pain or only when we suffer a loss, right? So coming back to the exercise example, we know it's important for us to exercise, but when do we tend to do that? If you look at the vast majority of us, we tend to get into some kind of regular routine of exercise or changing our diet or perhaps to stop smoking or reducing alcohol consumption. That tends to happen when we have some major type of illness happening, right? And that could be a heart attack. It could be something that affects our health. And when we have that situation taking place, that's when the vast majority of us tend to want to make sure that we're taking better care of ourselves. You see, even though we know prevention is better than cure, meaning we could have been doing the exercising beforehand, we could have been doing the following of a good diet, we could have done those things beforehand, but we tend to act when we feel pain or we suffer some loss. You see, that's what sort of spurs us into action. When it comes to your financial planning, or again, if you're looking at some kind of investment, maybe right now you know that your money is not invested into the right place, right? It's not the right strategy, but something's preventing you from being able to make the change. And it could be that you're not certain whether the grass is greener on the other side, meaning your money is invested in a particular strategy right now. This is where you have the money. You know it's not the right place, right? You know you want to be in the right place and you're not exactly sure where that new place is. Maybe you've been given some advice, but you're feeling afraid to make the move over. So how do we ensure that we're making the right move? Well, let's start to analyze this very carefully, because usually what tends to happen is we make that move only when we suffer a loss or we're having some kind of pain. And you see this happening all the time. You know that the markets ebb and flow. We know the markets have this type of effect. And what tends to take place, yeah, so we know that's what's happening in the markets. We also know good advice says when it comes to investing, you want to buy when the markets are low and you want to sell when the markets are high. But we are emotional human beings. So what tends to take place most of the time is, even though we know we're not investing money in the right place, even though you know that, you might want to move into the correct strategy until this happens. See? So picture your investment right now. If there was a major market crash, the tendency or the likelihood to want to move into the new strategy becomes great. And when the markets are performing well, it's sort of masked, right? We can't see that it's not the right investment. We can't see this. So let's go through the 3 questions that I want you to ask yourself in order to ensure that you're able to move forward in the best possible way. Now, the reason you want to do this is when the markets dip, you could stand to lose a significant amount of money. And even if you don't lose a significant amount of money, what you will lose, which you can't replace, is time. So the sooner you get yourself into the right investment, the sooner your money starts to grow into the right strategy. And then from there, you'll start to see better performance, right? So the first question I want you to ask yourself is, what would happen if you did nothing? Now, notice what I'm saying. What would happen? Meaning if you know right now you are invested in the wrong place or you're paying towards a policy that you know is more than what you should be paying for, right? What would happen if you did nothing, right? And I want you to make notes of things that would take place. So what would happen is you're going to continue to feel uncertain, right? Because you know that it's not right. Wherever the money is invested right now, or whatever investment policy you have right now, it's not correct. So this is going to make you feel extremely uncertain, right? It's also going to make you, depending on the situation, it's going to help make sure that you're having these sleepless nights, right? Because if it's something big, like if your retirement is pending, or if you're a government employee and you're thinking about retiring or resigning, it's going to give you sleepless night because you don't have the certainty on how to move forward, right? So if you did nothing, we know that these are the things that would take place. If you did nothing, if your money is invested in the wrong strategy, you know that in addition to losing out on time, you also could lose out on a lot of money, right? So you could suffer some kind of financial loss, right? And I'll put the loss in terms of two aspects, one being financial, and the second one being time. Now, notice what I've said to you earlier. What would happen if you did nothing? So this is a certainty. You know that these things are going to take place if you choose to do nothing, right? On the flip side, second question, I want you to look at what could happen if you took action. Meaning, you know that currently you're in the wrong strategy. What could take place if you move to the right strategy? And what you're starting to analyze here is the following. Could you grow your money? Is it possible to grow your money if you had to make the move, right? So if you follow that right advice, could you grow the money? Could you save on tax? So is that something that is possible for you, right? Save on tax. Could you save time? Could you save money? So save in terms of costs. You want to start to analyze each of those things. Could you start a relationship? Meaning, maybe right now you've been given some advice and it's different to the advice that you've received in the past. It's from a new advisor. You're not feeling sure, right? Could you start a relationship with someone, with a new financial advisor that helps you to move forward? You see? So I want you to analyze this. What could happen if you took action, right? And you start to look at the possibilities of it. And then the last question I want you to look at is, or answer is, which route gives you more certainty? See? Now, the word that is key here is certainty, right? Because if nothing else, what are we looking for? In today's society, with everything that's taking place around us, we are looking for certainty in an uncertain world, right? Because there's so much that we're unsure about. You might be unsure about the future. You might be unsure about the markets. You're unsure about which route to take place when you're leaving work. You might be unsure about whether you're going to be in this province or move to another province or be in South Africa or move away. Perhaps uncertainty in terms of your occupation. There's a lot of uncertainty. So when it comes to choosing the route, you're looking for certainty. So now you're comparing both options, right? Once you start to analyze, you're making your list. What would happen if you did nothing? You make your list. Then you compare that to what could happen if you took action. And then I want you to answer this question. So which route gives you more certainty? Now it becomes helpful when you put this down on paper because we tend to deal with a lot in our mind. So the moment you put it down on paper, you know you're freeing your mind off, you're able to think a lot more clearly. You can also then put in all of your thoughts down on paper, making sure that you're getting all of this off your chest, right? It also then allows you to make a decision to move forward because what you don't want to do is leave this thing unchanged, right? Because as long as that decision is still pending, is still there in your mind, it's constantly going to play. You might be at work and then you've got this decision that suddenly pops into your mind because you're feeling insecure. You might be watching TV and then suddenly this thought comes into your mind. You might be with your kids and then suddenly this thought comes into your mind. So we're unable to have that freedom, right? We can't focus on where we are. We can't be present to where we are, especially when we've got a big decision that's pending. So just take 5 minutes, make notes of the questions. What would happen? And you start to list out the things that's taking place. Then you move to the next step, which is what could happen if you took action, right? What are the possibilities? And then you start to look at which route gives you more certainty. Once you do this, you then start to free yourself because you'd then be in a position where you can understand which option makes more sense to you And once you move forward, it allows you then to start to see exactly whether you made the right decision or not, right? Now, if you're still feeling uncertain and it comes to some type of financial planning, here's what I want to suggest to you. Maybe right now you are concerned that you are a government employee, maybe you're thinking about resigning, or maybe you're working in the private sector and you want to retire. Now you have a big pool of money here, which is all of your capital, and I'll list this as a figure, let's just say 6 million that you have to invest. And you want to start a relationship with a financial advisor or financial planner, but you're not sure whether that is the right route, right? So let's say you approach me for some advice. You're not sure whether you want to go ahead. Again, you're feeling this uncertainty. So the next thing I want you to, the route I want to suggest that you consider is start off with something small. So if you're not ready to take the big decision just yet, just do baby steps, right? Remember, Rome wasn't built in a day. So you want to get this thing done one step at a time. If you're not ready to go all in, you start off with something small. I've said this before, you can do 100,000 Rand investment. So this becomes almost like your test run, right? So you're giving a trial of the advice. Let's say you're approaching me with a solution. I'm now working with a solution on 100,000 and you're monitoring what's taking place on that solution. Right? Am I able to save you on tax? Am I able to ensure that the investment's growing consistently? Am I delivering on the things that are important to you? Now, when you do this, it then gives you some experience, you see, because the thing with financial services, as I've said before, it's not a tangible thing. We can't see it, we can't touch it or taste it. We have to experience it. And the way to experience it is you start off small. You don't want to go all in. See, you might not want to go all in. So if you have time on your hands, the suggestion here is do a baby step. Do a baby step into this, especially if you know what could happen if you took place is a lot better than if you did nothing, right? So then in that case, you take a small step toward it. When you know that this structure is working well, when you know that it's going according to exactly how you've positioned it, exactly what you wanted has been addressed, then it sort of builds trust in you and you can then look into a bigger solution. Good. So comment below to tell me, how are you implementing this? What decision has been holding you back previously? And how have you implemented the 3 questions? If you've not already done so, I encourage you to subscribe to the channel so that you're able to get videos as soon as they come out. And if you know of someone who's needing this help, right? If you know of a government employee who's stuck deciding whether to retire or resign, I encourage you to pass this video on to them. Let's do our best to help one another out.